everyone. My name is Danielle Meyer, and I am an archetypal astrologer. Um, right now, I am in St. John's in the US Virgin Islands, and it's a beautiful day. I'm inside though because it's a little windy, so unfortunately, no view of the beach or ocean. And I am bringing you a full moon live stream as it happens in real time. It is 2:30 here in the Caribbean, but same time as Eastern Standard, and it's probably 11:30 Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, so I also work as a therapist in Boulder, Colorado, which is where I'm from, and I have been studying archetypal astrology probably for about 10 years, and I also am writing my dissertation on archetypal astrology. So this is just fun for me and fun to share with all of you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the chart for the day and just kind of get into it and start looking at the different aspects. Okay, so a couple of things I want to say on the side before I start looking at the planetary aspects for the day is kind of just a little bit about full moons and then also Libra and Aries, which the sun is in Aries and the moon is in Libra. So with a full moon, if you follow moon cycles, full moons are culminations of the last 6 months. So if you look back to what was going on about 6 months ago, we had a new moon in Libra on October 16th, 2020. And on that day, we had Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter that were still in a triple conjunction. So they're all together in a square to the new moon. So almost imprinting that moment with this warning sign of like, hey, this winter is going to be hard, constricted, destructive, transformative. And without going into all of the things that have happened in the past 6 months, it's pretty clear that that was kind of what unfolded. So with this full moon as a culmination of the last 6 months, it almost feels to me like a new moon because it is so much of a stepping into a different chapter after this. And yeah, so you might say that this full moon correlates to the end of a long winter, along with our spring solstice that we just had, and also Ostara, if you celebrate that, and also Easter. And so, because it is the first full moon of the new astrological year in tropical astrology with the sun in Aries, perhaps we are releasing things that served us these past 6 months that our soul needs to shed to move forward. So there is this releasing and letting go that happens during a full moon. And with this one, you may pick up themes of what that's about as I continue to explore this chart. It will give you insight into kind of like, oh, okay, I think that that's what I need to let go of that's blocking me from my potential. And in that way, utilize the energies of this full moon to see like, okay, that's why this is coming up. So with Aries and Libra, which is the sun is in Aries up here and the moon is in Libra over here, we get this dynamic of those two qualities that character, it's like the sauce for the meal. The meal is the planet, the sauce is kind of the sign that it's in. So Venus is the ruling planet of Libra, where the moon is. And so that has to do with diplomacy and balance, sensitivity to relationships, also a knowing of oneself through the other. The other could be a partner or a friendship, but also the other in the world as nature or something opposite to yourself, and how you find yourself in relationship to the other. So it has a lot to do with how we create equal reciprocity and healthy boundaries in relationships, and also how we maintain power and independence and our own strength of will, which are qualities of Aries. So we have that tension of balance in relationships and harmony with how do I be myself? How do I come forward? What are my roles? What do I follow? What do I live by? And how do I maintain that sense of independence in relationship? Aries is ruled by Mars, and the Mars archetype is correlated to action, will, and power. So a Venus-Mars dynamic here with this full moon creates a harmony of yin and yang, and the lunar and solar, and masculine and feminine. So you could think of it as like me and you, but also me and the other you around me, and how I relate to that. So archetypally, with the sun and moon, it's a polarity that creates tension. This is a day, any full moon is a day to integrate and to have this sense of like an inner illumination of the full moon, but then also our potential and our identity, which is the sun, our feelings and our conscious aims. So the feelings of the moon and our conscious aims of the sun, the light that shines, the sun, on our innermost sentiments, the moon. The moon archetype makes us feel nurtured, safe. It is the feminine, the mother, child, the family, the home, the tides and the rhythms and cycles of life, the soul, yin energy, turning towards our feelings, turning towards the soul. The moon can be moody, independent like a child, wanting to be comfortable at home. The sun archetype is our ego, our talents, our individual purpose, the hero's journey, seeking autonomy and the self, creative willpower and purpose. Warmth and light, obviously, celebration, shining forth, expressing yourself through what you create, and also expressing yourself through the realities that you manifest. So, how you show up in the world as yourself, in the world that you've chosen to live in, and yang energy. So, an example of this dynamic is Maya Angelou, who was born on a full moon with the sun in Aries and the moon in Libra. And I'd have several quotes from her that kind of speaks to this energy. And she says, develop enough courage so that you can stand up for yourself and then stand up for someone else. And another quote, only equals can become friends. The desire to reach for the stars is ambitious. The desire to reach hearts is wise. And I just have two more. Life is not measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away. And lastly, I think this one really speaks all, is courage is the most important of all the virtues, because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. You can practice any virtue erratically, but nothing consistently without courage. And I think that courage speaks to the sun and wanting to practice something virtuously and feel connected to harmony and what's right. It just speaks to that kind of like Libra moon. Okay, so another exciting thing about this full moon is this kite aspect, or this kite pattern that you'll notice here. And I see it as the bottom of the kite at the moon, with the apex being up near this Sun-Venus aspect. And so the way that I like to think of that is that because Venus is the ruling planet of Libra, which the moon is in, that Venus becomes the dispositor, the receiver of the moon's energy up here near the sun. And so I think that just carries like a very special point for today, and almost feeling like a blanket of Venus energy over the other things that are also going on. So just looking first at this Sun Venus right here, this kind of archetypally correlates to feeling good about ourselves, feeling good in your own skin, maybe connecting to your creativity, or feeling like inspired by the things around you again. Sun Venus feels warm, sunny, happy. I myself am in the Caribbean, so I feel like this is perfect. Like it's warm and sunny and happy here. And I'm listening to like reggae and island music. Sun Venus is also like, these, flowers that are starting to bloom, back in Colorado, it's springtime. And so we're seeing a lot of tulips come up. You may see beautiful flowers outside, or maybe just a feeling of being in bloom within yourself, like something is blossoming or something is arising within me, that a new potential. There could be a feeling of fulfillment in yourself or with others. So relationships might feel more in harmony during this time. I also feel Venus to be like a cheerleader here for the sun, who's saying, like, if the sun is like your potential, Venus is like, hey, you can do this. It's like it's beautiful to see your potential blossom. It's like encouraging energy. Um, Venus like being like, hey, like, go connect with others, like see the beauty in the world, enjoy pleasurable activities. It's okay to relax. Yet on the shadow side of Venus Sun, it may also correlate to vanity or laziness or self indulgence, maybe a little bit of codependency because Venus is related to relationships. Um, and the sun is like self. So it's like, oh, I need you to feel like myself. Without you, I feel empty. And so it's good to be aware of those impulses arising and to remember your own inherent self worth. Um, so connecting to sun energy today is, feeling proud of who you are and who you're becoming. And I have Oprah Winfrey, who has a Sun Venus conjunction, and she has said many things, but some of them feel very Sun Venus. One is, when you undervalue what you do, the world will undervalue who you are. And then another one is, you can have it all, just not all at once. And lastly, the biggest adventure you can ever take is to live the life of your dreams. And then I want to move to looking at Venus Moon, which is a different dynamic right there. So this combination, with the moon, it is like the inner child. And so Venus is like, this combination is like calling the inner child to come out, wanting to be with loved ones. So relating Venus and like family, the moon. But also a feeling of being in flow with life, feeling in harmony emotionally, feeling happy when you look good. Venus is like beauty. A desire for closeness, cuddling, being cozy at home. Also like newborn cute things like puppies, babies. It's like a sweet lightness of heart. On the shadow side with this one with the moon Venus is like an overindulgence in things that may bring like temporary materialistic comfort and satisfaction. So like unconsciously, like, maybe like shopping or overindulging in like things that fill you up emotionally, but they're, not a true sense of inner self-worth. So being mindful of that impulse. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson has Moon Venus, and he also speaks well to this aspect, which is, I'll never be full. Oh, I'll never ever be full. I'll always be hungry. Obviously, I'm not talking about food. Growing up, I had nothing for such a long time. Someone told me a long time ago, and I've never forgotten. Once you've ever been hungry, really, really hungry, then you'll never ever be full. He's also said, I was raised by strong women, and that DNA is in my daughter and wife. And so the moon Venus, moon being like family and the mother and children. And so seeing that, like having that strength and connection to his family. And he's also said, attitude and enthusiasm play a big part in my life. I get excited about the things that inspire me. I also believe in laughing and having a good time. So taking all three of these together, the sun, moon, and Venus, these three archetypes together could be quite beautiful in terms of our attitude and feelings, like wanting to be more intimate in relationships, a longing for emotional connection, or feeling balance between like lunar and solar energies. I have a snippet of something from Ovid, who is a Roman poet and an initiate of the cult of Venus, who, and then in the cult of Venus, they envisioned the moment of death as a culmination of sexual union, which was part of the sacred marriage promised by the religion of Venus. So Ovid said when he wished to die that while making love, he said, let me go in the act of coming to Venus. In more senses than one, let my last dying be done. And so in his coming to Venus, it was also death. And in Shakespeare's time, so sometime later, to die was still a common metaphor for sexual orgasm. So this feeling of death and beauty, also with this full moon. For example, yesterday I was had my eyes on this beautiful bay here in St. John's, and I saw just like the most picturesque palm tree on a white sandy beach with the ocean. And I said out loud, "Let me die under that tree," because it looks so beautiful. It looks like heaven, and it's just like that longing to surrender to that beauty of like I could just die there. Like it's so beautiful, and yeah, to let go, to surrender, and to die is kind of that the feeling of this Sun, Venus, Moon all together. Um, so switching gears and looking at this Mars Saturn Moon trine. Um, which is right here. You'll notice that now we're bringing in Saturn and Mars with the moon. And so that's a different flavor than Venus, Sun, Moon. Um, so just with the moon and Mars, this can bring a feeling of determination and passion. So Mars being implementing action, an inner strength, because the moon is like our subjective inner world. But also like a feeling of being like a protective mother, like this is my family, or having a snappy attitude, or even just anger towards close ones, maybe feeling short-tempered, or an impulsive feeling of like, just do it, or maybe even a temper tantrum of like regressing to like 5 years old, but I don't have the words for it. I just know that I'm angry. Moon Saturn can point to responsibilities and feeling pressure to show up and be accountable and self-controlled. The volume may be turned up on your inner critic today, saying like, hey, get to work. You need to take care of things. Don't forget, show up, be accountable. And therefore there can be a little, like this limitation to our freedom of our indulgence and beauty of Venus. Saturn's, they're saying like, it's judging our harmony. It's like, okay, enjoy yourself, but not too much. Yes, within these lines you can, as long as you do this first. So be Saturn moon is like focusing on hard work, structure, boundaries, or just needing them in life and just being like, oh, great, okay, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And so yeah, the feeling of disappointment might be the moon because of those boundaries. Yet it might actually be a good thing. So on the shadow side of Saturn moon, we might feel that we're not getting the connection that we're seeking. We might feel old wounds that come up, make us feel resistant to intimacy. We might feel unable to give or receive and shut down, become distant, workaholics, to satisfy emotional hunger. So it could be like a missing home kind of feeling, with the moon is home and Saturn's like distance. But also the feeling of there's so much to take care of, and I have to do it myself and make sacrifices and suffer alone while I do this. And Moon Saturn could also be limitations that affect us emotionally, like, oh man, this isn't what I thought it was going to feel like, the moon. I had expected something different. The full moon is about releasing. So if you use this energy of like disappointment to kind of try to release old pictures from the past and listen to what the universe is saying to you in this present moment, and what limitations are there for you right now today, might be gifts or guideposts saying that like, hey, your life has changed and you're on a different trajectory now. And so the expectations that your old self had isn't kind of what is in store for you now at this point in your life. So and then when you kind of let go of those things from the past and the pictures and the way things used to be or the way you had expected it to be, you can find a deep wisdom inherent in the energies of today. Okay, so that's Moon Saturn. Um, Mars Saturn over here is another part of this trine. Um, I think it's a great energy. It sounds a little scary. Saturn and Mars sounds kind of willful and strong, but it can be determination, focusing on energies and into tasks, being disciplined, getting things done, but also feeling a frustration to get those things done. Like um, it could also be like your energy feels blocked somehow, or like just you don't want to, but you know that you need to, so you just put your nose to the grindstone to get it done. But and then you can't really like get it done, whatever it is. It's gonna take a while, so you have to like plug away at it little by little every day, making a slow and steady effort. That's effort, uh, Mars, but slow and steady is like Saturn is like you can't just get it done. Mars, you can't just impulsively do it. You have to like develop endurance. And so that's why I think it can be good, because in the long run, it's like training for a marathon with Mars Saturn. It's like you're developing this hardening and through training and strength ability. So it's like a warrior attitude, trying to get through oppressive conditions. Like even your own inner world of emotions can be oppressive sometimes, like working against you if you're just trying to sit down and work at something. Um, and it's so hard, and like you don't, your emotions are telling you to do so many other things, but you know that you need to just kind of sit down and work through it and not listen to your emotions. So altogether, yeah, Mars, Moon, and Saturn can correlate to feeling like a little bit of a weight on our shoulders, or you have your work to carry, you have your responsibilities, and so those may feel very present and like you're actually carrying them. So to get through it, to carry everything, you might ignore your emotions, the moon, or become too self-controlled and just have this feeling of like, oh, okay, I just have to do this. Like this is the only way, is to just do it. And Saturn is slower moving, so it's not something we can just do once and for all and get it over. There's lots of learning to do still. There's lots of experience to be gained with Saturn present. And it feels hard and oppressive, like you can't get it done in one day. So it's a feeling, the moon, of duty, responsibility to work. So working with like the sun Venus aspect here is like, wow, life is so beautiful, but I have so much to do. Get out of my way. And so we could be hard on ourselves. We might have a hard time like getting our thoughts out of our heads so that we can focus on what's in front of us and enjoy like the weekend and enjoy a Sunday. Um, yeah, so the trine is supportive though, this grand trine. So listening instead of shutting out Saturn, and so like listening and honoring, thank you inner critic for being here, thank you limitations for teaching me, um, and then responding to Mars's initiative. This energy could be like a propulsion for potential that's being released through this new moon. So as we let go of the old, Mars and Saturn are kind of like, hey, we're going to take that energy that you're letting go of, this old story, and we're here to support you and show you which way to go. And then like this is part of this kite aspect here. It's like we're going to fly, we're going to take off. um, and the top of the kite is the sun Venus, so it's going to be beautiful. Um, but there is some hard work and effort that's needed to get through it. So Barack Obama has a moon Saturn trine and also a Saturn Mars trine. And so a couple of quotes from him I think are relevant for this. He has said, if you're walking down the right path and you're willing to keep walking, eventually you'll make progress. And also, you can't let failures define you. You have to let them teach you. You have to let them show you what to do differently next time. And then lastly, it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get to where we are today, but we have just begun. Today, we begin in earnest the work of making sure that the world we leave our children is just a little bit better than the one we inhabit today. Okay, so another aspect for today is incorporating Saturn into looking at the Sun Venus, because Saturn is trining both of those. You'll see Saturn at 11 degrees, Sun Venus right here. So we looked at the Sun and Venus already, this feeling good about ourselves and feeling connected with our values or our sense of beauty in the world, harmony and grace and our potential. With Saturn here, this is a sense of work and duty that's like, hey, it's not all flowers. You have to make them grow. Or hey, just because things are dry and empty right now doesn't mean that it's not beautiful. Just because it seems like it's not what you expected and it doesn't mean that you can't grow out of this or that this isn't part of your growing lesson. So Saturn's like, you have to learn, be true to yourself, but also be honest, be authentic, be sincere. Don't fall into victim mode with figures of authority, maybe like kind of like, oh, this, I have to do this and they're watching and they're telling me what to do and I feel inferior and I have to grow and I have so much to learn. And it's like, okay, great. Like honor those figures of authority. They're in your life for a reason. They have purpose. They're more established, more mature, or older. So like with Saturn trining Sun and Venus, it is supportive, but in a way that it could feel like the judgment of authority, whether your own inner authority or another person. And you might consider or might have thoughts of self-sabotage, of like, well, what if I just quit? Or like, I want to run away, or I don't want to do this, but I know that I have to. It's aligned with my goals and my path. I might also think, I'm not ready, I don't want to be seen. So it could be like a shyness. So there's growth that is hard, but it brings a necessary structure or a limitation. So it's supportive with the trine for development of this potential of the sun here with Venus. And using the potential here, like that of perseverance, commitment, patience, realism, there's a capacity for hard work and achievement from discipline. So supportive trines are like, hey, if you kind of just listen and don't resist the authority or the inner authority, like you're going to grow from this, and that's part of this, and you'll make it through as long as you kind of like flow with the demands of Saturn in a way. Yeah, work is hard. Also, it's okay to give yourself a break, which I think Sun and Venus are saying, like, go spend time with some people this weekend, go on a vacation. Saturn might show up a little bit, but it's just saying like, hey, enjoy yourself, and when you get back, you gotta make things happen. So um on the other side, Saturn, I think, like, can bring a lot of like shame or resistance to developing our potential. It's like maybe you kind of lose courage. So yeah, I think now's a really great time for self-compassion, especially with Venus there. Like, I feel like you can access self-compassion very easily as a way to be kind to yourself. Brene Brown, who's a researcher on compassion, says that, first observe your thoughts and your emotions, so be mindful. And compassion is simply also just being kind to yourself. And then thirdly, compassion is common humanity. So just remembering that everybody is suffering, everyone is going through something, everyone has trauma, everyone has a boss that they don't like, or everyone has someone telling them what to do, and everyone is learning. And so self-kindness with the Venus sun there could be like, wow, this is cool. I didn't know I was capable of this. Great job, self. It's like, it's not so bad. I can do this. Um, Jada Pinkett Smith has Saturn trine Venus. So there's a Venus Saturn trine here today. And she also has a Venus Sun conjunction. So from her, I'll quote her, you always have to remember to take care of yourself first and foremost. Because when you stop taking care of yourself, you get out of balance and you really forget how to take care of others. And then another one is, do whatever rejuvenates you. It might be a cooking class, cocktails with the girls, or just private time with the hubby. We all have our moments when we run out of steam because we've given everything we've got to everyone else. And then lastly, when I am tired, I rest. I say, I can't be a superwoman today. So I think that kind of speaks to using this really beautiful energy of the full moon to relax and try not to beat yourself up about taking time off if you need it. Other things going on within the chart for today would be this Mercury and Neptune conjunction right here. And so Mercury conjunct Neptune for the next several days. Mercury correlates to our thoughts, our perception, communication, the words that we speak, how we communicate with others, how we understand things by observing them, our insight, our words, how we interpret things that happen. And then Neptune is our imagination, visions, fantasies, but also like a dissolving into the oneness and wanting to be one with everything, or unity, but can also be illusions, escapism, and confusion. So with Mercury and Neptune, our thoughts might be a little jumbled, maybe a little chaotic. We might be focused on our daydreams or living in like an ideal world that's not necessarily matching what's happening in reality. We might have difficulty thinking with clarity, or thinking or speaking or writing or researching with clarity. Kind of just like feeling like I've got a lot of ideas and I'm really inspired, but like it's just not making sense when it all comes out on the paper. Like it's hard to put it in a linear fashion. So, be a little gentle with yourself if you're feeling like your thinking is a little bit more like fluid or, inspired, but not necessarily. Yeah, I feel like I'm entering Mercury Neptune right now, where I just start to lose track of what I'm trying to say. um, so making errors with appointments here, or forgetting things, or having like a disconnected meaning, or not being able to like really clearly say what you're thinking. On the other hand, it could be you become very inspired by an idea. The other day, my friend turned in a paper for a final exam for PhD class, and then the next day after the paper was turned in, just had like a total download. This was yesterday. Had like a total download of like what the paper like truly meant after he had submitted it. And it was just like, oh man, like I had the vision and it all came together after I had already written the paper. I was like, okay, that kind of sounds like Mercury and Neptune a little bit. So there could be also, Neptune has a tendency to kind of like put a veil over things where we think it's one way and then the veil gets ripped off and it's like totally a different way with people, things, and places. So you might be with someone or be doing something or be in a situation and kind of be fighting like expectations or reality that you had hoped for, and it's not. And so it's like, but Neptune always kind of brings it back around. Like there's a deeper wisdom there. Like once the veil gets lifted, there's a wisdom to be learned if it's accepted. And so that's like the surrendering of like, okay, Neptune, like I never know, because you kind of cloud things and then it clears up and becomes something else. So yeah, just working with our own projections onto things and questioning them, and being a little bit more fluid, a little bit more flexible with expectations that we have, so that we can hear the deeper wisdom of what life wants to show us. Don't let your expectations fool you. It's the, or I would say like be open to unexpected changes that life wants to show you. Yo-Yo Ma has Neptune conjunct Mercury, so I'll read a few quotes from them. And it's, as you begin to realize that every different type of music, everybody's individual music, has its own rhythm, life, language, and heritage, you realize how life changes and how you learn to be more open and adaptive to what is around us. And then when we enlarge our view of the world, we deepen our understanding of our own lives. And lastly, each day I move toward that which I do not understand. The result is a continuous accidental learning which constantly shapes my life. Also going on is Mercury Mars. So Mars over here squaring Mercury. Mars archetype we talked about a little bit, which is our, it's related to our passion, drive, power, willpower, how we exert ourselves. It can also be conflict, war, how we fight our battles, warrior energy, also just like action and doing things. So having like, being competitive, or like how we take action, or even adventure. So squaring Mercury, which is our thoughts and ideas and communication, could be arguments, sharp words with Mercury and Mars together, may correlate to harsh criticism or debate, or frustration, or even being like impulsive in speaking. So Mars being like, hey, do this. Hey, this is energy coming forward. And as you speak, it's like, or even brashness in speaking, or speaking over other people, overstepping boundaries, and like when other people are talking to you, thinking a lot, spiraling with lots of things to do. Especially with Mercury and Neptune, it's kind of like, oh, there's so many things to do, but I can't like make order of it, or like what things I want to actually do, and like create a timeline for it. So feeling like, yeah, feeling passionate about with Mercury, feeling passionate about books, writing, speaking. Like, oh, I actually feel like reading today. I have a lot of energy to put into words. Or finding the energy, or be willing to put in the energy into writing. Okay, so I'm almost finished. I just want to say a little bit about the Saturn Uranus square, which others will mention and will be talked about probably a lot this year, but it's always good to just kind of hear it from lots of different people about what's going on. So Uranus up here, and then Saturn right here, and they're squaring each other. And they're going to go in and out of that square a few times this year. So we're kind of just living in a Saturn square Uranus year. Kind of sets the tone for 2021 too, because they're slower moving planets. Uranus is freedom, rebellion, and awakening. Aha, eureka moments, genius. And with Saturn, it's kind of like, rather than rushing into the new changes that Uranus brings, Uranus wants to like suddenly, bring this like brand new way of living, like it's rebellion, revolution, and uprise, or like, like inspiration, and electrifying impulses of like, oh, like suddenly understand this amazing thing, or like I know that I must break free and do this differently, or I have like a strong desire for freedom. Saturn's like, nope. So they're very opposite in some ways. Saturn, it's like, rather than rushing into things and new changes, we approach them more slowly and carefully. So Saturn's like, with Uranus, is like finding freedom in our structure that we already have and within our daily routine. So you may feel like you want to break out and be free, but you face boundaries. And I mean, this is kind of obvious in many ways for the whole world right now, but even in your own personal life, like there's boundaries, maybe a time boundary, which is Saturn, an authority, or you're literally like stuck in lockdown. And with this year, it's like, okay, you'll be free one day soon, but you have to take steps to get there. And so Saturn is like that slowing down of that progress towards freedom. Or it's also like liberation, Uranus, that takes experience or time to achieve liberation. Yeah, so it could also be plans and ideas and visions for the future. So plans, and then you have to like face your responsibility of like manifesting those concrete plans, but then they're being led and fueled by the vision for the future of Uranus. So Saturn Uranus, like, basically is the tension between authority and the rebel. So wanting to break free from commitments, maybe to have more time for other responsibilities too. I know for me, I just reshifted my whole schedule around because I was working too much so that I could have more freedom, but I still feel very constricted in what I have to do. But the things that I rearranged in my schedule better serve the vision of my future. So that felt very Saturn Uranus. Stanislav Grof, researcher on consciousness, has Saturn square Uranus, and his quotes like just definitely speak that very clearly. So I'll read a few. It says, in the kind of world we have today, transformation of humanity might well be our only real hope for survival. And then another one is, a radical inner transformation and rise to a new level of consciousness might be the only real hope we have in the current global crisis brought on by the dominance of the Western mechanistic paradigm. And then lastly, from Stanislav Graf, I'll say, the renaissance of interest in Eastern spiritual philosophies, various mystical traditions, meditation, ancient and aboriginal wisdom, as well as the widespread psychedelic experimentation during the stormy 1960s, made it absolutely clear that a comprehensive and cross-culturally valid psychology had to include observations from such areas such as mystical states, cosmic consciousness, psychedelic experiences, trance phenomena, creativity, and religious, artistic, and scientific inspiration. So that's Stanislav Grof revolutionizing psychology. So that I feel like he's like with the tradition and then saying like, hey, like let's, you know, he's a rebel in the field that created something absolutely brilliant. Okay, so I am going to wrap up here. Thank you everyone for listening. I'm going to take this and post it on YouTube so that you can find it later and share it. I appreciate your time, and I really hope that you find time to relax and tap into some self-worth during this full moon. I really hope that you're able to recognize that any kind of oppression or limitation is actually something that's there to help guide you. And yeah, I'll look forward to doing another one of these soon. And I hope you tune into the new moon that's coming up soon. It's going to be really exciting just in a few weeks. Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.